I was just working through my soil with my garden fork, getting ready to direct sow some seeds for some warm weather crop. Well, anyhow, it's a beautiful day here today in Pennsylvania, Zone 6. The sun's shining out here, the birds are singing, the buds are coming out on the trees, so it's just a lovely time to be outside in the garden. And so I'm excited today to share with you what type of seeds you can direct sow in your vegetable garden for warm weather crops. So thanks for joining me today out here in the vegetable garden. We have nesting geese here that every year they build a nest alongside our pond, and right now Mother Goose is out sitting on the nest there, a couple feet right off the edge of our pond. But you know, you may hear occasional geese in the background, and like right over there you can see the male goose. He's protecting the mother. You know, he keeps an eye out for foxes and or whatever. But anyhow, you know, here in Pennsylvania, Zone 6, our frost date is May 15th. And so we're approaching the end of April right now, and so it's time to think about what type of vegetables I want to direct sow in my vegetable garden. You know, the soil's warming up, and so it's getting to be prime time to direct sow these vegetables in your garden. Well, anyhow, over the years I've planted all types of vegetables in my garden, and over the last couple years, you know, I've narrowed down to some of my favorites, you know. But it's always fun experimenting with different type of vegetables out in your garden. So I've here in my hand the seed of a bean plant. These are Royal Burgundy bush beans. But just think about a seed, a teeny tiny little seed. It's the embryo of a new plant. Now it's in its dormant stage, and in order for the seed to be triggered, it needs to be planted in the soil or any type of suitable substance, and it needs to be moist, it needs sunlight. And so this is going to grow into a beautiful mature plant. But from one tiny little seed, it's just amazing the harvest that you can grow in your own garden or on your back patio or deck. And so it's just a real blessing to be involved in this whole growing and nurturing process, similar to how a mother would nurture its newborn baby. You know, we need to nurture and protect and take care of these little tiny seeds even during germination period, and then when they pop their heads above the soil, we need to protect them from some of the harsh elements of Mother Nature, you know, the wind, the heat, and some of the garden pests and some of the animals. And so, you know, it's a constant process, it's a constant learning curve of what to do and what not to do. It's just a big learning curve. And you know, that's my hope here with PlantSmartLiving and my YouTube channel is, you know, I've been gardening over 25 years or more, is to help you shorten that learning curve. You know, I try to make my videos very informative and just filled with education, and at the same time make them entertaining for everybody, and just to be enjoying the beautiful of nature out here in the garden. Well, anyhow, I have here in front of me like 28 different vegetables I've planted over the years. So let's quickly go through these. And here I mentioned these Royal Burgundy bush beans, and these are nice. I do grow these every year. And what's nice is, you know, most seed packs are under $2, and most seed packs will last you a couple years, or if you get the heirloom variety, you can just save the seeds. And I buy my seeds mostly local. I keep it simple. I get them from Ace Hardware or Lowe's or Home Depot. But over the years, I've collected a lot of different seeds. And so next here on the list, or in my pile here, is my Detroit dark red beets. And so I grow a lot of these every year, and it's, you know, it's good to grow some of your vegetables in succession. You know, you plant one day and you wait a couple weeks and you plant some more, and that way you're not having your harvest come in at one time. But I just love these dark red beets. I do freeze these. I bring them to boil and then cut them up and slice them and then put them in freezer bags. And so even now I have a lot of red beets in my freezer. I add a lot of these to my salads that I have every day. And so another favorite of mine is my Waltham butternut squash. I've grown a lot of different squash through the years, and this has ended up being my favorite. It's easy to store. In fact, I just have a few more in my garage where I'm storing these. And so Waltham butternut squash. I also have it's called climbing spinach. It's also known as Malabar spinach. This is another favorite of mine. You know, regular spinach typically bolts once the heat comes, but this type of spinach here, it's also an ornamental spinach, but it'll grow right through the summer heat. And these are great. This is great in the salads. And I also add this to a lot of our spaghetti sauce when we do our canning there in the fall. And so climbing spinach, I have some mustard greens. You know, that's a leafy green. There's something really easy to grow. Also some royal acorn squash. Royal acorn squash. It's another variety I've grown over the past. I grew these a couple years ago. You know, once they come to maturity, you can cut the top off and hollow them out and put a lot of beans and rice and vegetables or tomatoes and just bake them, and you know, they're delicious and tasty that way. Also, I've grown the Blue Hubbard squash. It's a larger squash, and again, something you can experiment with, something really easy to grow. And all these seeds, you know, they like warm feet, and you know, especially when the soil reaches around 70 degrees, they really take off. You could even plant these a couple weeks before your last frost date, and you could cover them with just some of your row cover just to help insulate the soil a little bit. But just to give you a couple weeks start on the season, you know, I'm going to be direct sowing my seeds here like in a week. And so next I have here some curly leaf kale, a favorite leafy green of mine. I grow a lot of kale here in our garden. I also grow some in the second week of August, so I can have a large winter harvest throughout the winter. And the idea is you want to bring your plants to maturity, and so all you're doing throughout the winter is harvesting your kale. I grow these underneath my row covers. And then this is a bright light Swiss chard. It's an ornamental Swiss chard. Another great leafy green full of phytonutrients and minerals and so on. I also have some zucchini squash. Zucchini is something really easy you can grow in a container, and mostly all these seeds here you can grow also in containers, although if it's like a squash or melon, you know, you may have limited space for that. But this is a dark zucchini that's great for planting in your garden. I also have some red Russian kale. It's a very interesting variety of your kale, of your leafy greens. It's something really easy to grow. Also some cantaloupe is great to grow in your garden. I don't grow these anymore. I don't direct seed these, although I do a couple every year, but I also buy them from a couple transplants from Ray's greenhouse. Royal red lettuce, or ruby red, is another variety. It's something really easy to direct sow in your garden. And some of these you can are also colder weather crops that you can plant in your garden. Arugula is a nice, interesting leafy green. It has a peppery taste, but that's great to add to your salads. It adds an interesting flavor. And then next I have lacinato kale, or also dinosaur kale. And so it's really fun and enjoyable experimenting with all these different vegetables in your garden again, and these packs are normally under $2. Another one I've grown, these yard-long Asian beans. They really grow great in your garden. You would need to provide some sort of trellis support for these, but another fun vegetable to grow in your garden. Also, I've grown your delicata squash. It's a great little squash. It's similar to the taste of a sweet potato, but it's a great variety to grow in your garden. They're really tasty and delicious. They're a little smaller than a butternut squash, but they certainly are delicious. Also, another variety of your Swiss chard is your Ford Hook Giant Swiss chard. Another great variety. I grew some under my row cover one year, and from the bottom of the stalk to the top of the leaf, it was 42 inches long. I think I did a video on that. And also the leaf itself was 24 inches. And these greens are all pick and come again, so as long as you pick the outer leaves, you know, they'll just continue to grow all through the summer. And so, you know, for a couple dollars worth of seeds, it's just amazing how you can feed your family for next to nothing all through the garden season. And then you could also freeze a lot of these over winter, so you just have a constant supply of vegetables from your garden. Also, another easy thing to grow is your cucumbers. This is a muncher cucumber, and so again, something tasty and delicious for your salads. Also have some Georgia Southern collard greens. Again, something really easy to grow and nice leafy green. All my brassica plants I do grow under my low tunnel hoop houses that's protected by spun bonded polyester. It keeps the cabbage worm off of them and the aphids. But collard greens, again, it's something great variety to grow in your garden. Also remembering, if you plant broccoli in your garden, the leaves from your broccoli plants are very edible. I did a video about that. You know, they're similar to collard greens, these broccoli leaves. And so even if you didn't grow collard greens and you did grow broccoli, you could certainly eat the leaves from your broccoli plants. And so we have here carrots, again, a cold weather seed you can grow, but also in the warmer weather you could grow some of these in May or June. You know, it's always, again, to grow your crops in succession, so your vegetables don't come in the harvest at one time. You can do that with most of your greens as well. And then I have here some crimson sweet watermelon. Another tasty and delicious vegetable you can easily grow in your garden. Again, these are going to vine out a good 6 feet from wherever you plant them, so you just need to make sure you have plenty of space to grow them in. And then I also have some spaghetti squash. Another interesting squash, and tasty and delicious, that you can grow in your garden. And they like, again, most of your, remembering that all your anything or vegetable that has a root or a fruit, you want to provide at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. And then anything like a leafy green can get away with 4 to 6 hours of sunlight. The winter squash, the spaghetti squash, again, is a delicious squash to grow. Also, I have some purple top white globe turnips. Something really easy to grow, and again, we can just watch these little plants grow and develop and nurture them and care for them as they get mature. But again, something really easy to grow in your garden. And then my last one here is some Martin House gourds. A couple years ago I planted some gooseneck gourds, or these Mountain House gourds. Just so I spray painted them. It's just you can drill a hole in them and you can make bird houses out of them. And so it's just something fun to grow in your garden, is these Mountain House gourds. Well, anyhow, I hope this video was able to give you some tips and ideas on direct sowing some warm weather crops in your vegetable garden. And so, you know, I just had my compost delivery last week, and I need to fill my beds with a couple inches of that fresh compost. You know, the plants just love that fresh compost. And, you know, you want to go through your beds, aerating your beds with your garden fork. And I used to have a gas tiller, but I got rid of that. And I just, since I have raised beds, I use my garden fork and just work through your beds, aerate them. Make sure you want to feed your soil. That's what you want to focus on, and that way your plants will be nice and healthy and strong. Well, anyhow, I hope you have a wonderful day today, and please leave some comments or questions below about this video if you have any. And you can also visit us at PlantSmartLiving.com, and there you can learn more about gardening and also how you can reclaim and restore your health by adopting a whole food, plant-based, vegan lifestyle. Well, anyhow, hope you have a wonderful day today. So till next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.